as a designer, what it is that inspires you, what makes you tick, what is it about this design. And they like to kind of see that you're a real person. To me, I think of it as why all people buy like National Enquirer and stuff, because they want to kind of know what Hollywood's doing. I know, right? And I'm not saying I'm totally not the National Enquirer, but I'm saying, I mean, there's this fascination where people want to know a little bit more about the people we admire. So I think keeping people excited about your designs and stuff, I think it's important to not only like get on Ravelry. I totally think you should get on Ravelry. I think you should diversify and get a lot of your designs out there. But take a chance and go on a podcast. And it's nerve-wracking talking to somebody like me over the phone. It's really not. But it's fun because people get to know a little bit about you, and I think it excites people more, and they tend to look at your patterns. They might tell people at their yarn store about your patterns, and it might help you get sales. So I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, I think that she's absolutely right that, you know, now, especially with the internet and with blogs and everything, that people know who the designers are, and they might know what their dog's name is, and, you know, like, if they went on vacation or whatever last year, and that designers now have a following that they didn't have before, because, you know, even quite a while back, designers weren't necessarily competitive. So, you know, now it's something completely different where their personality is really out there.
So what about like somebody like me who's older and like I actually don't want anybody to know all the stuff about men. I actually like having a private life. And that's kind of a barrier in some ways to me because
comes back to who is your customer.
Yeah.
And I guess if we're wholesaling to yarn stores, the yarn store owners can know where we went on vacation. The others don't have to know.
But I think you can also set the boundaries that work for you.
Yeah.
I mean, you can decide how much of your life is going to be your public persona and how much of your life is going to be, you know, talking to people about.
Yeah.
I mean, that's up to you to decide where that boundary is.
Like, I have a blog, but I haven't posted on it maybe for a year now, and I won't share my daughter's name online because people can be crazy.
yeah, and the other thing, just from my perspective as a designer, is that you know, I have an extroverted part of my personality, but I'm also more introverted, and so I think sometimes it's hard for us to put ourselves out there in a way that, you know, our following wants us to.
I think, I was just going to say, I think there are other ways to support the knitting community without becoming a personality, okay? You can teach knitting to the Girl Scout troop. You can, you know, do your own private things that foster this. I'm not sure yet, and the day might be coming when being a whole part of the internet community is absolutely essential to success. But today, that's not true. It depends on who your customer is. And we tend to find the customers that make us feel comfy and happy that are a little niche. So some of us blog and tweet and Twitter and Ravelry, and some of us don't.
Well, I mean, it's also, it's a question of who your customer is and also what your goals are,
Mm-hmm.
and what kind of business you want to run and how.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, you can be really active locally, you know, and teach classes or whatever, and be really well known locally. Like, for example, in Montreal, there's a designer who works in the yarn shop we used to work in. Everybody there knits your stuff, you know, everybody in that shop. But outside of the shop, no, not at all, really. So, you know, I guess it just depends on what you want.
So for each of you, what is the best thing about working in this industry? Say that into the mic.
Autonomy, coupled with creativity, making your own decisions, having your own successes and failures, but knowing that it's all your own.
For me, part of it is the tremendous amount of creativity and passion that people have in this industry and fiber. Well, I like that I can work when I want to work. So I work in the morning and then I work until 2 in the morning. So and I don't work in the afternoon, and I make my own schedule, and I can't not design. It's just
obvious that I couldn't make a living, or chose not to make a living as an artist, which just would have been a dreadful existence. Much as I would love to make art and still do, not that I have the time to, but this is a commercial enterprise that substitutes for doing that. It's very creative. You know, I get to splash around in the dot pots all day long, and I still do. I dye everything in the studio myself. And I get to design, and there are tough things about it, but the passion, I guess. Just, I've been knitting since I was 8 years old. You know how many years it is? That's a lot.
So you alluded to the other side. So what difficulties or difficult things have you encountered?
You know, I'm going to jump in and say this because I've been around the longest. Piracy is the absolutely worst thing that has ever happened to me in this industry is piracy. I came up with something when I was young and involved early on in the mid-'80s, and I wasn't well distributed and I wasn't well known, and it was absolutely stolen from me, and it was very creative, but it was no one had done it, and it was absolutely stolen from me, and it was run with by that company for a lot of years, to the point that people would walk into my booth and say, oh, that's just like so-and-so's. And I would say, no, theirs is just like mine, because I invented this, and it didn't end with that. That made me a very much harder businesswoman than I was, to the point that I had to kick those people out of my booth. Because every single TNA, they would come to see what else I had done. Until I finally told them they were no longer welcome. It took me 3 TNAs to find my backbone, to say, leave. And then they were shocked that I told them to leave. And when I said, you stole this, they said, well, that's just this. They said, no, that's not just this. It was just this. Why didn't you think of it? You didn't think of it. I thought of it. Get out there. And I have then seen, through a whole bunch of years, designs being co-opted, yarns being co-opted. It's brutal. Would you like to know how many of my hand-dyed colors wind up at dye houses in Europe? And I walk around the show floor and I see my color combinations. And you know, if those companies would come to me and pay me, I'd develop colors for them. But no, they go to their local yarn store and they buy skeins of my yarn. And probably not just me. Send it off to the dye house in Europe and say, this is the color we want. It is the thing that upsets me the most about our industry, because we are a very, there's a lot of camaraderie here, there's a lot of friendships here, and there's a lot of cutthroatness. And that's it. I'll stop. Obviously that thing is the worst I've ever encountered, and it continues to this day.
As a yarn shop owner, Sia is a designer and I'm not. I'm a yarn shop owner and I make things up. That's the difference. You guys are designers and I make things up. And something happens